Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's webinar, Intro to Entrepreneurship and SCORE. I'm Tim Ryan, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County, and I'll be your host. Our speaker today is Ashwini Bhaskar. More on our speaker in just a minute. First, as many of you know, SCORE often co-sponsors our events with partners that serve small businesses, and today we are happy to have with us Jason Shanderson, Special Projects Coordinator for the Small and Minority Business Enterprise for the City of Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I know from my mentoring experience that people often forget about their local city or town economic development and other departments that are there to help you. So welcome, Jason. Can you say a few words?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Tim and Ashka. I am here and I'm excited to talk about what our department has to offer for small businesses within Bridgeport area. It's a great day to talk about business.
Thanks. Thanks, Jason. Now some brief info on SCORE. About 230 offices, 10,000 volunteers nationally. SCORE is an SBA resource partner. SCORE Fairfield County has about 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer 3 primary value-added services to small business owners. First, free one-on-one counseling. Second, educational in-person workshops and live webinars like this one, about 100 per year. And third, we have extensive resources on our website, including templates to help you build your business plan. Some info about today's event. If you have a question, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It's located in the lower part of your screen. Our workshop will end at 1 p.m. to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be sent to everybody who's registered and be available on our website in a couple days. Now our speaker. Ash Bhaskar is an accomplished executive with a proven record in sales leadership and strategic delivery within the technology sector. Passionate about empowering local entrepreneurs, Ash brings hands-on experience in scaling operations, driving revenue growth, and mentoring professionals. As co-chair of SCORE Fairfield County, Ash leads efforts to support small businesses through expert guidance and community-focused programs. Now I'll turn over to Ash. Ash, it's all yours.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Tim, thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. Jason, thank you very much for joining. We totally appreciate it. As you know, we go through the presentation, you would see that what we do really is in collaboration with the local folks on the ground. So, Jason, I know you did a little bit of an introduction there, but maybe you should begin with asking as to how does your organization helps small business?
Oh, certainly. So again, so we're located downtown Bridgeport in the Margaret E. Morton Government Center, and we're a resource center that you could probably liken unto like SBDCs and other organizations around the state, WBDC, that we offer free access to resources, access to opportunity, access to capital. And we're a resource center that is geared towards the overall what's a good word? The overall success for small businesses located in Bridgeport. So everything from business startup, whether you have an idea about a business, you're thinking about taking your idea and monetizing, or you're taking your idea and going to the next level. We assist in everything from LLC formations. We help you with the process online. Everything for existing businesses. So you have businesses, whether it's an at-home business or brick and mortar business, you're looking for access to capital. Every business needs and wants a little bit of extra cash to help to drive what they're doing. We provide that. We have tons of resource or access to resources by way of the relationships that we've built since I've been here for the past 4 years. So we work with other organizations as far as like CEDF, and we work with HEDCO, and we work with a few different local banks and also a few different credit unions that we have the access to the capital for people that are looking for it. Not only that, we host a number of online webinars such as this, and also in-person seminars, usually after hours, 6 to 8, focusing on a wide array of different topics, business credit, how to become bankable when you're looking for funds. There's a ton of things. We also have a yearly event that we do called the Bridgeport Entrepreneur Exchange, which is a networking event once a year in the fall that allows Bridgeport-based businesses and in the area, greater Bridgeport area business owners to come together for a night of it's really just a night of just coming together as business owners and having a good time. Iron sharpens iron, so you never know what you don't know until you don't know it. And talking to other people in the same professions or even different professions is when you find out, hey, I didn't know that. And it's a good opportunity to meet who the other professionals in your area are, and kind of gain some insight on how they do things, and maybe structuring yourself and how to do things differently. And then outside of that, we also, our office hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So if there's ever any questions, hey, how do I do X, Y, Z? You can always come into our office. We're here as a resource center for small businesses in and around Bridgeport, women-owned businesses, and minority-based businesses within Bridgeport.
That's great. As we go through this presentation, you would see that a lot of it that Jason, you guys are doing out there in Bridgeport, SCORE is doing in the Fairfield County, right? Like providing mentorship, doing the workshops, providing education, and things of that nature, right? So great. Thank you very much again for joining, Jason. And feel free to chime in anywhere during the presentation.
Thank you.
Perfect. Now, the way we are organized, as Tim said, I have about 3 or 4, 10, 15 minutes maybe to talk about what is entrepreneurship. Let's set bring everybody on the same page. And then about 30 minutes, I will talk about what SCORE does in Fairfield County and how we can help small businesses, just like Jason talked about, right? So the goal of this presentation really is to provide a very friendly and super, simple introduction to what is entrepreneurship. And I am sure we have about 15 attendees right now. I'm sure all of you already know what entrepreneurship is. But we will define what entrepreneurs do, explore why entrepreneurship matters for the economy and the society and for Fairfield County. We will discuss what are some of the traits that sets entrepreneurs apart, and walk through some phases of how do you start a business. We will also look at what are some recent small business statistics and trends in Connecticut, so that you are aware of what's happening on the ground, and show you some of the opportunities that might be there. Okay, so with that, so what is entrepreneurship? Really creating a new business by individuals or small groups is what entrepreneurship is. But as you all know, that entrepreneurs are the ones who will assume all the risks and also stand to benefit from all the success, right? That's one of the great things about being an entrepreneur, that you're working for yourself, right? What you're really doing is you're creating, identifying innovations, identifying gaps in the market which are not met. And those are the opportunities for you to combine land, labor, and capital to create your own organization, right? So I think it's a simple enough definition for us to understand that entrepreneur is somebody who will create value for which people are willing to pay, right? We've had a lot of people that we mentor who come in and ask us as to, can I start this business? Can I start a pizza shop or a senior care center and things of that nature, right? So they are identifying an unmet need in the market, and then combining their skill set, land and labor and capital to create that or satisfy that unmet need, if you will. So why does it matter? I think it matters because it drives the economic growth, it sparks innovation, it creates new market, and it creates generates wealth not only for the entrepreneur but also for the employees, for the society, and our community in general. And of course, it fosters social and cultural evolution by solving what the current problems are. Okay, so this is one of the questions that get asked almost always as to what are the traits of a successful entrepreneur? What does it take to be an entrepreneur, right? So I think one of the things that I always tell all the mentors that I mentor, mentees that I mentor, persistence I think is one of the biggest traits. You have to be at it. Of course, the table stakes are you gotta be curious person. You gotta be observant to see what are the unmet needs in the market, right? You have to be flexible to be able to change. You have to be adaptable to be able to change to what the market needs. But I think in the end, that really matters is, are you persistent enough? Are you passionate enough to make it work what you started, right? While, of course, being flexible and being adaptable to the market, and you're willing to learn and you're willing to innovate, right? And of course, it goes without saying that you have to be motivated and self-aware. I have to tell you, to share my own personal story, I spent almost 25 years in corporate. I was a partner in a management consulting firm. And then I transitioned over about 5, 6 years back, having a small business. And then during the COVID, I kind of sold those businesses, and I'm really now doing mentoring and coaching full time. The reason I share this story with you is that, when I was in corporate, pretty much everything gets done for you. You have a lot of support, and a lot of people keep you on straight and narrow, right? But when you become an entrepreneur, I think the last bullet point here, you have to be self-motivated and self-aware, because there is nobody who's telling you in the morning you got to do this or you got to do that. So you gotta have that internal discipline to be able to create to-do lists, to be able to create a business plan, to be able to create action items for yourself, and understand what is it that you do well and what is it that you don't do well, so that you can hire or look for the skill set that you don't have, right? So I think that is probably one of the most important traits of a successful entrepreneur. Be persistent and be curious, and be flexible and adaptable. Jason, anything else? You mentor a lot of people as well. Anything else you would like to add?
Well, I'm with you on board with everything you say. I think it's really important to know, and this is something I tell business owners, our prospective business owners and new business owners. As an entrepreneur, you really have to take into account that you know the self motivation is a really big key,
Correct.
because you become the hiring, you become the janitor, you become the cleanup crew, you become the secretary, you become like you are all of the things as an entrepreneur. And I tell people, it's not for the faint of heart. So when you have to be totally committed and totally focused on seeing the best of what you want your business to be.
Right. So I do see there are some questions coming in on the chat, and I will address those questions at an appropriate point, but keep them coming. We will definitely get through all those questions. All righty. All right. So what is an entrepreneurial process? And again, I'm sure everybody on the call today, I've got about 17 people now on the call. Everybody probably already knows this, right? But just to set the stage, how the process really works is you have to have an idea as to what is it that you're interested in, right? What is it that will create value in the market? What is it that is unmet demand in the market, right? So the first phase of an entrepreneurial process really is to come up with the idea, right? And during my corporate life, there's one thing I learned is the only way to have good ideas, great ideas, is to have lots of them, right? So have a couple of ideas as to this is what I want to do, or this is what the unmet demand is. And then, of course, you take it to the next phase, which is evaluating the opportunity to see whether this unmet demand or this idea that I have, is it, is it profitable? Can it make money? Is it something that, we can do and create value out of it, right? So to give you an example, as I was telling you that we get a lot of requests from people, for mentoring who start by saying, I'm a great cook. I cook really well. Everybody loves it. And I want to turn it into a business, right? So that's a great idea. You have the skill set, you know how to cook, but to evaluate the opportunity in your areas to see whether there is demand for this service, whether I can price it competitively with other people, with other folks in the market who are going after the similar service, if you will. So that's a process that you have to go through and do some planning, right, which takes you to the next phase. And I'm telling you, this is probably the most important part of starting a business, is to plan, to have a business plan, right? And I'm sure everybody on this call has probably heard that that business plan is probably the most important part. Once you have had a lot of ideas, you have kind of tossed them through in your mind to figure out whether this idea will work or will not work. Now you got to formally create what is called a business plan, right? And if I were to tell you that, about 800 requests for mentoring that we get every year as an organization, and we will talk about that when I talk about SCORE, I would say almost two-thirds of those requests for mentoring are really around business planning, because it's a complex thing to do. And you can create a very complex business plan which talks about 5-year projections and so on and so forth, or you can create a one-page business plan, right? So business plan is an important document, but you don't want to get completely consumed by that business plan and fall into what I would call analysis paralysis, right? But business planning is very, very important. We do at SCORE, we have created a bunch of tools and intellectual property that helps you create that business plan, right? Um, and remember, this part of entrepreneurial process is also very important, because business plan is the one that you're going to lead with when you go to the banks, or your partners or employees or anybody else to talk about what your business is trying to do, right? If you want to raise money, you need a business plan, right? Jason, how many people do you see when you mentor? How many businesses do you see who come with no business plan, or very unrealistic expectations about business plans?
I want to say just about all come into the office without business plans. And it's one of those things that I don't know if they don't know they need, but they leave here with the understanding that, yes, it's an essential part of your business, what I call the back end. There's certain forms and there's certain things you need in front of everyone, as far as like your EIN and things of that nature that you have to pass out to different organizations. But on the back end, you have to have your business plan, because it's essential, especially when you go for funding. There are certain CDFIs, like CEDF, for instance. When we make the referrals, part of what they require before they move forward with, funding is, what's your business plan? It's really important, because what's your plan? What is your plan that you're going to execute should something happen to ensure? And then how does that translate to us to make us, ensure that you're someone that's credible that we're going to lend this money to? So a business plan is very, very important.
Right. And understanding that business plan is such an important document, not only for getting loans and external facing things, but also for your own edification, also to figure out whether this idea that you've got and you've evaluated this opportunity, whether this is going to work or not, right? So business plan is important. Let's spend maybe one more minute on business plan, couple of more minutes on business plan, because a lot of people get confused as to Business plan is something which is a living document, right? You can start your business plan, have, overall or maybe big details in it, but as you go through the process of evaluating your opportunity, you would keep updating that plan, right? Remember, you have to be flexible, you have to be adaptable, and business plan has to change as you keep finding out more about the opportunity, right? Okay, so after the business plan, then you got to get into the launch, and after launch, of course, you got to grow your business. I think that's an important part, right? And we will talk about it very briefly when we talk about what the trends are in Connecticut. From launch to growth is a wonderful, wonderful phase where you have to really, do different things after you've launched. You have a couple of employees and you have revenue. After a couple of years, when you need to grow, then comes a totally different phase of the business where you got to go back to the plan and figure out whether you want to grow in a different market, or you want to grow with different services or add on to your service, or how do you want to grow, right? Do you want to grow by acquisition? Do you want to grow by going to different places in geography or whatnot? So that's an important part as well, right? Okay, now let's talk a little bit about what is the state of affairs in Connecticut as far as small businesses are concerned. And maybe this is a good time for us to take a couple of questions, Jason, that have come on the chat. Okay, so one question from anonymous attendee is, what preparation should individuals consider if federal funding is cut off and different forms of collaborations will have to assume the previous role that the government organizations once held? Well, I'm not sure if I understand the question fully, but I think what it really is saying is that the role of the federal government is changing, right? But Small Business Administration is still there. We still have all those organizations in Connecticut and nationally which are still helping people. Government is putting in money in encouraging entrepreneurship. Jason, you want to take a shot at this as to how does the changing federal government or government policies are impacting small businesses?
So the only answer I can kind of come up with is that we all see that almost on a daily basis, every moment, there's something changing more and more often, especially with the government and policies and procedures and the way funding is being cut and being redistributed. The hard part is that I don't think there's one definitive answer that can kind of answer that because of the way that things change. And when we don't have the ability to foresee change, you kind of have to roll with the punches. So one thing I often tell business owners is that, especially as entrepreneurs, you have to be able to pivot because given the climate of what's going on in government, the next moment isn't knowing what's going to happen,
Right.
So I think just the ability to pivot, which kind of goes back into kind of what we said before as we opened up, as far as being passionate about something. So one thing to consider, especially as an entrepreneur, and to take into account is that if you're going to start a business, make sure it's a business that you have some type of background knowledge in. So it's not wise or as wise to start a business as a chef when you've been a painter for all your life, and the only people that like your cooking is maybe your family. That may not be a business venture for you. And going into an area of uncertainty and trying to capitalize as a business, and then things happen at the government level that may affect funding, you may be caught out in the rain without knowing how to navigate that. So being passionate about the business that you want to do, having some type of product or common knowledge about the business, and then also having a plan B. every plan B needs a plan B. So just in case
Right.
something happens, you have an ability, especially when you're the entrepreneur, especially if your entrepreneur business is your sole source of income. You know, a lot of people have full-time jobs and then they'll do the entrepreneurship on the side or, you know, as a little side hustle, which is great. But if your main source of income is your business, then you have to make sure that, you know, you're fully vested into what you're doing is in that. I think that also rolls over into having a knowledge about what it is your business is. Um, I think I think that's the best answer I can give for that.
Sure. I would tell you this to share my personal story. When I, from corporate, working for IBM, a large corporation, I moved and became an entrepreneur. Um, I have to tell you that I was amazed by the amount of resources available by the government, by the federal government, the state government, and the town economic boards, right? The amount of help that is available if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, if you're trying to start your own business. It's amazing, right? Including SCORE as well as what Jason is doing, what WBDC does, what SBDC does, what SBA does. I know a lot of acronyms here, but if you just Google what is help available to start a small business, you will be completely overwhelmed by amount of resources that are there. And I don't think change of federal government has really not impacted a whole lot of those programs. Some of them it impacted, but WBDC still exists, SCORE still exists, SBA is still there, a lot of help available. I think that's the best answer. All right, another question that I just popped up here. It says, do I need a loan for just one person life coach business? Um, well, that really depends on, whether you need a loan or I mean, do you want a loan or not is really the question. And if you want a loan, then you'll of course have to go through the whole business planning part, um, and obviously take it to either a community bank or a normal SBA funding bank. Jason, you want to add anything to that? You're on mute, Jason.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that depends upon where you see your business going. You know, the term called scaling your business. So I think that if you're going to start out in this, it's quite possible you may not need a loan, especially for a life coach, because essentially you are the business, and the service. So you are the business. So if you see yourself, you know, life coaching the mass and the millions, um, maybe you might need a loan somewhere in the future. But I think starting off, I think it's important to, number one, know to count the cost, to know how much it's going to take to get to where you want to get to. So some of the investments that every business owner makes is in the state of Connecticut, the 120 for the LLC, which is about the average, what everyone gets is the LLC, or a nonprofit, which is $50. So counting the cost and see how much it costs for business insurance. And if you require any type of licenses or certificates, I think it's kind of, you know, count the cost and see what that is. Because sometimes those may be fees that are reasonably priced, I guess, or able to be paid for out of pocket by a business owner. However, it said, no, I don't. I'm not sure what that response was for. But however, if in the event you might need a loan, let's just say you're going to open up a storefront. Let's just say, sorry about that. Let's just say that your life coaching is going to be a travel life coaching, which then you might need a vehicle. Then you might need to pay for insurance for the vehicle. So I think it's important to know, if you're going to be a life coach, um, where you want to see your business go, and then count the cost to see how much it's going to cost for investment purposes to get to where you want to go. At least until, you know, again, with a business plan, knowing where your first 2 or 3 steps are going to be in the future, and then pacing yourself and scaling your business to that point.
Yep. I mean, taking a loan is a double-edged sword, right? I mean, when you take a loan, in my mind, what's happening is that you manage to convince the bank, right? Bank has looked at all your business planning, and feels that, yes, this is a worthy enough endeavor for them to give you money. So it's kind of sort of validation of your idea, validation of your business plan. On the other hand, though, when you take a loan, you got to repay it back, right? So it creates a financial liability for you, right? And it's a long-term financial liability. It's not that it's going to go away um, in next quarter or next year. It's a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year loan that you got to repay back, right? So, I mean, if you ask me, my personal take really is that if you can get a loan, you should always get a loan. I mean, don't do business of your own money, but it does create that stress and pressure that you got to return that money back as well. I think the lady who asked the question, she's saying she doesn't really need a loan. But I would defer to what Jason was saying. First, plan out where your business is going to go, and then depending on that, you can decide. And also remember, a mentor can always help, right? So if you have a mentor. Anyway, so let me stop here. I wanted to go on talking about SCORE, but before I do that, I just wanted to give you a snapshot of what is happening to the small business landscape in Connecticut, right? So as you probably know, small SBA defines small business as somebody doing $100 million or less, right? Which is kind of ridiculous, I guess. But most of the small businesses that we talk about in Connecticut, 99.4% of the businesses are are classified as small business. Even out of that 99.4% of businesses, almost 60% of them, and I just did that, Chat GPT research, because I was surprised as well that it is 99.4% businesses are small businesses. But out of that, there are almost 70 to 80% of the businesses with no employees at all, right? 286,722 businesses in Connecticut have no employees at all, right? So small business really is, something that people are also using, I'm guessing, to augment their income. They have a job and they're also doing some kind of a gig thing. So I think maybe that's what these numbers mean. But you would see that entrepreneurship in Connecticut is thriving. I mean, in 2023, we had 14,000 establishments that were open and about 13,000 closed as well, right? But we had a net, increase of almost 1,000 new businesses that were established in that period. Right? That's amazing.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, a lot of stuff is happening in Connecticut. So, the climate is definitely there. The sentiment is definitely there. I mean, there are some businesses that the government is also promoting. For example, I'm sure, Jason, you heard about, child care business. You heard about senior care businesses, which are, the government is promoting because of whatever policy issues they're seeing. What else are you seeing, Jason, in terms of what is being promoted these days in small businesses in Connecticut?
So I think that 2022 and 3 was like the birth of the small business, or the rebirth of the small business, because COVID forced a lot of people into different sectors of the workforce. Whereas, corporate buildings were full of people 9 to 5, COVID caused people to be at home 9 to 5 or 24/7. So it caused people to think outside the box and to become creative enough to still sustain their lifestyles that they had or attempt to sustain them. And since I've been here, I think that there's been an uptick in all service businesses. The service industry has really upticked. So things like you said, childcare, adult daycare, mobile car businesses, mobile car cleaning businesses. I've seen a lot of people with that. A lot of people have now in our office registered for like restaurants. Kind of the things you kind of just see in your everyday here and there. People have been upticking in that. Let's see, another one. A lot of people have now become more hairstylists and beauty salons, um, and also
Healthcare, all the
yeah
fitness, all the fitness.
yeah A lot of people have been doing that too. So, and the thing about it is that, um, it really just looking at the numbers that you had on the previous slide, now when I say it and I read what the numbers are, I'm like, oh, it does make sense because there's a lot of people doing in the same. There's also a whole wide array of other genres and other um, sectors that people are working in. But I think that for the most part that we've seen has been an uptick in like the service industry, that personal one-on-one service industry that's really uptick.
Right, right. So I just want to recap where we are, what have we done so far. We defined what entrepreneurship is, what are some of the important things, what are some of the important traits for an entrepreneurs are, and then we are talking about now why this is a great time, right? In Connecticut, we're talking about local, hyper local, in fact, as Jason was talking about in Bridgeport, hyper locally, this is a great time to be an entrepreneur. There was almost 10.2% increase over new business applications from 23 to 24, right? Roughly 3,000 odd startups. And the biggest indicator in my mind is you see the third bullet point, $855 million were loaned to very small firms. Can you believe that? A total lending of $1 million or less exceeded $2.4 billion, which tells you that if so much of money is going into this must be working, right?
Right.
Perfect. Now, having set up all that stage, let me pivot over into what the SCORE does, the organization that we belong to, Tim and I, and we collaborate with everybody else in Fairfield County to help small businesses. All right. So let's begin with a little bit of history. What is SCORE? So SCORE was formed in 1964. It's almost as old as I am. I was also born in 1964. As a resource partner for SBA, Small Business Administration. So we've been around for a really long time, 60 plus years.
Yeah.
And since then, go ahead, Jason. Jason, you were saying something?
No. I was
Okay.
agreeing with you.
Okay. So we've been around for a very long time. It's a national organization. We are part of Small Business Administration. And our mission really is to just help small business communities through mentoring and education and creating intellectual property. You probably heard about that a little bit when Tim was introducing us or opening this webinar. And since since our starting in 1964, we have helped about 17 million people in pursuit of their business goals. And we will talk a little bit more about how many businesses, how many jobs were created. So what do we do? What does SCORE does? So SCORE does three things, right? One, provide free business advice and mentoring, right? So there is no cost to our business mentoring. When we do mentoring with our mentees within Fairfield County, there is no fees, right? The only thing that we ask for is that hopefully your business is based in Fairfield County. And if it is not, then we can pass you on to the mentors who look after other counties and other states and so on. So the first thing that SCORE does, and we will talk a little bit more about later on in terms of scope and how much, what is our reach, right? So we do one-on-one mentoring. The second thing we do is offer low cost or no cost business training, right? We added this low cost part here really because there are some workshops that our national organization does, which cost $25. We don't do in Fairfield County any paid workshops as yet. All our education is completely free. And then the third thing that we do, sharing business templates and resources, we create intellectual property that can be used by small businesses. So to give you an example, we talked a lot about business planning. So we have different kinds of very complex business planning templates. We have very simple one-page business plan kind of template that you can use. One of our mentors, Joe McCaffrey, also created a Q&A kind of Excel spreadsheet. So if you answer all the question, in that Excel spreadsheet, your business plan gets created automatically, right? So these are the kind of intellectual property, business template, resources that are available to you on our website as well. So those are the three things that we do. Well, I mean, we help all kind of businesses. We help people who are just idea folks, people who just have an idea and they want to run it by somebody, a third party who's done that before, right? So remember the first phase of entrepreneurship process was to create ideas, right? If you got an idea, you're wondering whether this will work or not, is this a good idea or a bad idea, you can, get a mentor from SCORE and run it by them, right? You can call Jason's organization. There's a lot of help available if you're just trying to figure out whether your idea will work or not. Okay? We also help startup businesses who are seeking to establish business and manage their finances. We do a lot of education around QuickBooks. We do a lot of education around how to do SEO, how to do social media marketing, and so on. And similarly for the established business as well, right? And if you are transitioning businesses, you want to exit your business, we can help that with that as well, right? And with what all industry, we got all these industries listed out here. Pretty much anything that you're looking for, we can help you with. And remember, we have a national organization. If there is a skill set that you're looking for and we do not have it available locally, we can bring to bear 10,000 volunteers that are part of SCORE nationally, right? So we have a lot of skill set that we can bring to bear if you're looking to start a business. So what is the scope? What did we do? I mean, what was our impact last year, right? I think this data is for 2023, by the way. Nationally speaking, we helped create almost 60,000 jobs, 60,000 new businesses, which created almost 85,000 non-owner jobs and net new jobs of 143,000 jobs. And this I'm talking about nationally. That's what SCORE did, right? So we will talk about our chapter and see how we helped, SCORE in Connecticut. So this is the part that I get really passionate about, but because this is the chapter that we belong to, Fairfield County, and we have roughly about 130 odd volunteers. I could not fit everybody's picture on this slide. All of these people that you see here on this slide are real people, right? This is me here. This is Tom Shimko. You see Tim Ryan here. We got Felipe, is professor at SHU. We've got so many wonderful people, who are now either in retirement or they're still working, are giving back to the community by being mentors to small business. Okay, so in Fairfield County, what have we got? What's our strength here? So I said about 130 volunteers. It says 110 here. I mean, depends how you count them. With very broad functional industry experiences. We have a lot of people who are retired, right? But we also have, in the last 2 years, we have changed a little bit of our demographics to have a lot more younger people and people who are still working. I think we needed that just to keep up with the new technology in terms of social media and AI and all that. So we've got a very good mix of retired people as well as people who are working still. Right? What did we do? What was the scope of our organization last year? We provided almost 1,200 hours of mentoring to 800 new and existing clients, right? So roughly we get about 4 requests for mentoring every day. Last year we got total of 800 requests for mentoring. We did about 149 in-person workshops and webinars, just like this, which was attended by about 6,000 people, right? So as you can see that our reach is very broad and we reach a lot of people in Fairfield County, right? Something that I'm really proud of mentioning here, Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score, if you're not familiar with the term, really very simply means means that if you ask the people who have utilized the services of SCORE Fairfield County, will they recommend it to other people? That's what it really means, right? So as you can see that we have a 93% net promoter score. Organizations will kill to have an NPS like this, which means that anybody who associates with us during mentoring or education feels very, very comfortable in recommending us to other people, right? So that's what the NPS means. The other metric that I wanted to share with you that our chapter is, remember we said we have about 800 new requests for mentoring that come in every year. Out of that, almost 67% of our clients, 67% of the people who come to us are already in business, right? We like that because starting a business is one thing, but also growing a business. As somebody was asking, in the chat, it's a one-person business that Jason alluded to as well. If you want to grow it from 1% to 10% people, a 10% business, that's something we would love to do as well, right? So in business clients, 67%, very proud of that. So what is our reach, right? We, as I said, serve about 1 million people. That's our population in Fairfield County, just below 1 million people. We ourselves have about 14,000 small businesses in our database, right? That we reach out to when we create a workshop like this. We will reach out to those 14,000 small businesses to say, do you want to come and attend this educational offering, if you will. We have a YouTube channel that attracts about 5,000 people every year. We would like to revive it and get a greater reach, but we don't have the skill set currently, at least, to be able to expand that, right? So anyway, we also have a bunch of community partnership, just like we have with Jason here. We partner with all the economic boards. We partner with Chamber of Commerce's in each town. We have I think about 8 or 9 of Chamber of Commerce in Fairfield County. We collaborate with each one of those. We also collaborate with the town economic boards because they know what the policy push from the state and the local community is. So just to be in touch with what's happening on the ground, we partner with all those people. All right, moving right along. As we said, we can help you with research and planning. We can help you with opening a business, growing the business, and finally also to exit. In the last couple of years, we've had a bunch of people who have come to us and asked us to help them in selling their business. In fact, one of the stories that I always tell people, one of our mentors, Alan Rosenberg, he helped facilitate one of the exits, and he helped them get better selling price, right? Almost by $100,000. So that was amazing. All right. So we have all this. What is our impact, right? What have we done? So we don't have the data. This data actually gets produced by a third party. We don't do this ourselves. This contract is given to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they collect it from all our clients and everybody else. So we have data available from 2022, which said that our chapter in 2022 helped create 164 new businesses, which created almost 250 plus new jobs, right? That is data from 2022. And then 2024, we don't get data by chapter, but we get data by the whole state. So in the state of Connecticut, we got 6 chapters. So all 6 chapters together helped create 822 businesses, which created almost 1,700 jobs, right? So as you can see that we make a big impact in Fairfield County, mentoring, coaching, and helping people start new businesses. Okay, and this is the part I really love, right? So this is what this is the voice of customer. This is what my customers are telling us. This is our customers the people that who we have mentored, our mentees, our clients, they are telling us. So everybody that you see here is our mentor here in Fairfield County. Bob Zitter, one longtime mentor, he's been with SCORE for almost 20 plus year, super senior executive before he came to SCORE. And you can, I'm not going to read these comments, but anybody who's been associated with the SCORE really gives us great feedback. And I spoke about Joe McCaffrey for a little bit. He's our access to capital gentleman. So if you're ever looking to find out how to raise money for your small business, Joe does almost 3 or 4 workshops for us every year or every quarter, I think. Tim, I think it's every quarter. So please look out on our website and see if Joe has any workshop coming up that'll tell you as to how to figure out money for your business. Super happy to share this. All right, I've got a bunch of, I think, slides which talk about how SCORE can help you. But I think, Jason, we are about 10 minutes away from 1 o'clock, and I do want to finish on time. Anything else you want to add about, what else is available in Bridgeport and with SCORE and you?
Yeah, so let me just put my email in the chat. And so CT.gov. So we do have, I mean, in the scope of like events and things of that nature. Let me start. So if your business is located in Bridgeport and you're on this Zoom, please email me so we can get you registered with our department, SMBE. It's free registration, there's no cost. The certificate lasts for 2 years, and every 2 years you just renew. This way you'll get put on our email list. I think currently we have somewhere 600-ish, 700-ish past and present businesses that are registered. So when we do events such as this again, you'll be notified right away. Also, all of our events are on our Luma page. So if you email me, we'll get you set up with an application and you'll be part of the SMB network. And then in the scope of events, we do have a few events coming up. If you are a contractor, and you're looking for, an intro to how to do business with the city. This Thursday at 6 p.m. there's going to be an event here for contractors. If you're interested in doing government work or work for the city, there's going to be an event here. Please email me and I can give you all the information. Also on August the 12th, we're having a business talk seminar, which is going to be held downtown Bridgeport. Please, it's going to be a great opportunity to come and just kind of hear some of the conversation we had today. And we're going to talk about business basics, things that every business should know and need, and to be successful in whatever industry you're going to be a part of. Again, our office hours 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It is by appointment only. So just give us a call or email us and we can set you up. And there's myself, there's Katie, and we have our admin, Lily. One of us will help you to the best of our abilities. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, again, feel free to reach out to us. We're here essentially for you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jason. Totally appreciate that. And as I said, I've got a bunch of other slides is how SCORE works and how we can help you. Each and every one of you is going to get a copy of this presentation. So I'm not going to go through the slides. But one last thing I would say before I hand it over to Tim for closing comments is that you can also join SCORE, right? I would make the last couple of minutes to make a pitch for you to join SCORE and give some of your time back to your community, help people. As you can see, the benefits of becoming SCORE volunteers and what do we do, right? So super happy to entertain anybody who wants to give maybe, whatever amount of time. We have different roles available. You can be a full-time mentor, decide to mentor how many hours you want to do. You can be a subject matter expert, or you can become a workshop facilitator, or just join us just as support, right? Or you can also join us to be a chapter leader or a district director. It's are all volunteer pro bono opportunities. None of us, all the people I talked about, 130 people in our chapter, they're all pro bono. Nobody's getting paid, right? So I would request you to consider, giving back to your community by volunteering. It's very, very satisfying and super nice, right? With that, before I hand it over to Tim for closing, let me see if there are any questions in the chat box here. So there's a question here about an idea to start an interstate compact agreement and raise standard of building effective businesses. I think these are all great ideas. Jorge, I think you might want to kind of get yourself a mentor, either talking to Jason or talk to us. We can provide a mentor for you, somebody who's done something like this before, either out of Fairfield or maybe even nationally. That's probably the best answer I can tell you. Do you need a specific email address to request assistance? So maybe we didn't touch upon that. Maybe my bad. The best way to connect with us is to go to www.score.com or score.org/Fairfield County, or just Google us, Score Fairfield County, and it'll bring you to our website. There are very prominent, places where you can click and request for a mentor, or you can click and join our newsletter so you know what we are doing, what kind of workshops are coming up, what kind of educational events are coming up. So join our mailing list. Please join us on LinkedIn. That's something I manage myself. I would love to see you on LinkedIn, and that's another way you can keep track of what we are up to. All right. I don't see any other questions here live.
Okay.
Tim, so I'll hand it back to you, Tim.
Great. Thanks, Ash. As a reminder, a recording of this webinar will be available within a couple of days on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. Please check our website for information on upcoming webinars. Again, SCORE offers free individual counseling, so you can do that on our website. Click Request a Mentor. We're available for sessions via phone, email, or video. We use Zoom. Also, please fill out your evaluations that will be sent at the end of the webinar. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's live webinar. In closing, a big thank you to Ash for the presentation today, and to Jason from the City of Bridgeport. Have a nice rest of your day, everybody.
Have a great day.